Welcome back to the Journey Podcast. I'm your co-host, Emma Jackson.
And I'm Jose Escalera.
And we are joined by the lovely Bukola Akinfaderin today.
Woo.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, guys.
For those of you who don't know, Bukola is a tenured software engineer and serial entrepreneur whose latest venture, Glow Up app, is changing the game for goal setting. Whether you're looking to glow up your skincare game, fitness, mental health, finance, or really anything, Glow Up is the app for you. And since we have you here today, this is so interesting. How long has it been since you launched Glow Up?
It's been about a little over 6 months, I would say.
This is such, okay, we love to talk about the early stages of startups, and yet it's so rare to get to talk to someone who is in the thick of their very first year of launching a business. So before we get into how you started Glow Up, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here in Houston, and, did you ever anticipate starting an app?
No, actually, funny enough, I have been in the tech space for about 20 years, right? Initially, I was into web development, kind of like UX design. And then when BlackBerry came out, I was like, okay, this is a cool new app. Everybody loves it. And so I kind of taught myself how to program on BlackBerry, and I built an app that went viral. Like, it was crazy. I didn't even expect it to go
What was the
viral.
app?
It was called Jandus Radio.
Okay.
And it was a streaming app for African radio stations. So at the time, TuneIn was out there, and they weren't really focused on African radio stations. So I was like, you know what? I love African music. It's really hard for us to get it here. So why don't I just build something that kind of has all the African radio stations on it? And I built it and kind of tweeted it out, and then it went viral.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Oh my gosh. So then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I guess I'm a software engineer now. I
Yeah.
guess I'm an app developer.
Yeah. It was just that simple. I was doing web, and then I built this app on mobile. I learned mobile myself, and
So impressive.
it just went viral. It was nuts. Celebrities were tweeting about it. That's how crazy it was.
So you say you taught yourself. So did you go to school at all for any of the
Yes.
actual engineering?
I did. I was a computer science major, but I'm a little up there in age, even though I don't look it. You know what I mean? But at the time when I was going to college, honestly, there weren't really smartphones out there yet when I graduated. Even Facebook wasn't around when I
So
graduated.
technically, you're a pioneer in the industry.
Exactly. So it's mobile development wasn't really a thing in school. We just did the basic learning Java, C# and stuff like that for mostly web. So that's what I learned. And so when mobile and smartphones started coming out, I was like, you know what? I need to start building for mobile. It's the future. So I just learned it.
So your very first app, just
Went
right
viral.
out the gate, went viral. So how did
Crazy.
you decide, or what was that pathway towards, okay, your first app went mobile, viral. Are you just going to stay with that? Or did you actually, because you built a business around it, didn't you?
I did. I was living in New York at the time, working for a finance company in the tech department, doing software stuff for their web and their CMS. And I was like, you know what? This thing is going viral. I started getting calls from a lot of people in Nigeria, which is where I'm originally from. And they were like, do you want to kind of see how this business goes? Are you willing to move back? And I said, hey, why not? So I gave up everything that I was doing, a high paying job in New York City. And I left everything and I went to Nigeria to kind of start this business out with this app and see where it went.
How do you? So that's before the App Store, Apple, right?
Yeah, this is BlackBerry.
Yeah. So how did that work monetize wise? How do you monetize back then that platform?
So BlackBerry did have their own app store, right? It was they were one of the first smartphones that were really popular. So they did have their own app store. So the way I monetized was basically trying to do partnerships with people doing events. So it was around music and radio. So I would go to musicians and be like, hey, you're doing a concert. I can kind of get your stuff and your concert on the app and promote it to all the users. I had 500,000 users on there. So I used to brand the app around each event. So when you open the app, it would be completely branded for that particular event. So I used to do a lot of partnerships like that. And contests. I would give away tickets to music events, concerts for everybody on the app. There were competitions. Cool. It was really crazy.
That is so cool. And so then when BlackBerry, paved the way for iPhones and all of that, how did your business model adapt?
So that was a really, really crazy story, right? So when BlackBerry started to kind of in the market, it was trending downwards, I actually had an acquisition deal on the table.
Convenient.
Ooh, very unfortunate that I didn't move that along quick enough because what ended up happening is they backed out. Like when they saw that BlackBerry was kind of losing its market share. It was actually slower in Africa. I don't know if you guys know this, but BlackBerry lost its market share much slower in Africa than it did in like the United States and everywhere else. But yeah, I should have probably just got on that.
Hindsight
But
is so
yeah,
2020. But
I
in the
know.
moment, you're like, no, because BlackBerry had such a chokehold on
Right.
just the global, everything to do with what we were doing in our everyday lives. And
Yeah.
then we had no idea that it was just going to change
I
so
don't.
quickly.
When I think about BlackBerry, I think about like the Razor. It's like Motorola Razor. So you know
No,
what
I
I'm
think
saying?
about the little. I think about the keyboard, like the like the OG
the
OG
QWERTY.
BlackBerry.
It's
Yeah.
called
Yeah.
QWERTY.
Yeah.
The keyboard. So it was. I felt like BlackBerry was one of those companies that were like, we're too big to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that
Blockbuster.
one thing that really like took them down in the market is they weren't listening to developers.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had a meeting with BlackBerry. They heard about my app. It was going viral, right? So they called to meet with me and it was like, you have a really popular app on BlackBerry. Can we talk to you? And I sat down with BlackBerry and I kind of told them, hey, these are the pain points in developing apps for BlackBerry. You guys don't have the right tools. First of all, if you want to develop an app, you're developing 5 different apps for each screen size.
Whoa.
So they made it so difficult to like build an app that people were already getting like kind of sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like people were like, they're not giving developers a lot of support. They're not listening to our suggestions. So they were like, whatever, like we'll be fine. And look what happened. That's the key when you're a developer. Like if you don't support your developer community, that could take down your whole platform.
Absolutely. I think that's part of, I could be wrong, but from what I can tell, part of the reason that Apple has really done so well is they have made it as easy as possible to get your app to the App Store. Nowadays,
Exactly.
like at least they did in the early days, it was like anyone. I had friends in high school who were building apps and launching them on the App Store and making a lot of money from selling like a 99-cent game.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like back in the day, now it's like a much more saturated market. You have to put so much more behind
Right.
marketing an app. But when you were like part of that original group, if the developer tools are there, right? And
Yeah.
if it's easy to get onto the platform.
Yeah, Apple is definitely great in that aspect. They have a very closed ecosystem. All their tools work well together. So they really put a lot of support and dedication. Even if you get like an app rejected, which Apple is very infamous for, rejecting your app, they call you after a couple of times, which I was surprised. Like I was having a really rough time with one of my apps I was putting out. They actually called me on the phone.
Wow.
They were like, hey, we're going to walk you through this. I was like, oh, Google doesn't do this.
No, that's super nice. And it's because
I was
guess
shocked.
they want you to have, they
Yeah.
want developers and they want the
Yes.
innovation to be on their platform to keep people, I guess, using Apple.
Also the money
Yeah.
too. Apple takes a nice little chunk of money from their
They
developers.
do, and so does Google. They both do. But I'm really impressed with Apple in terms of like support. I'm a Google girl. Like I've always been like an Android engineer. Like you know, after transitioning from BlackBerry into Android, which was an easy transition for me. It's both on Java at the time. It was easy for me to transition into Android development. I've always been, into Google, but
Also
Google needs to step it up a little bit when it comes to the developer community. I'm not gonna front. They need to step it up just a little bit.
So how did Jandus Mobile pave the way for what you're doing with Glow App?
So that's the thing. Jandus Mobile was basically, I kind of converted it into a business where I just develop apps for people, right? So I develop multiple apps. I have like 8 apps right now on the App Store for different businesses. And, going back into kind of like creating something that I always wanted to build, right? 8 years ago, I got the idea that I wanted to build a self-care app. And I was like, it's going to be about skincare, hair care, fitness. It's just going to be this one-stop shop for people to come in and kind of like share ideas and like have a community around it. And I built the little wireframes. I did like little mocks for it using InDesign back then. And then I didn't launch it for some reason. I feel like the timing in the market wasn't quite right for self-care 8 years ago. I don't know. Maybe life was good. We didn't think about
We didn't
self-care
look
back
at it
then.
too much.
We
Yeah.
were like, yeah, life is good. Who needs to be like doing self-care? So it wasn't a concept that was catching on back then as much. But fast forward 8 years, right?
Big difference.
It's huge. Self-care is such a huge industry right now. People are burnt out. Maybe after COVID. I
was
don't
about to
know.
say, I think the pandemic had a lot to do with it. We had so much time on our hands. We were stuck in our houses.
Yes.
We had time to like pause life, real
Mhm.
life, and then reevaluate. Do I want to be a better or different version of myself?
Exactly. And people, I felt like people were just getting burnt out from their 9 to 5s and they weren't really
Mhm.
putting the time and dedication into caring for themselves, not just physically, but like mentally. Like, we all need that space to kind of like step back a little bit and let's do the things that bring us joy. Right. So I was like, you know what? I should go ahead and just launch this app right now. Picked it back up, learned a new language. I was
What's the language?
programming on Java and Kotlin, which was for Android, but I learned this new language called Dart, which is for cross-platform development. So using Flutter, I built the app in 4 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, I learned everything and built it out.
Just yourself? Did you
Yeah.
have a team?
No, not for this app, but I do have a team
Wow.
for client apps. But for this one, I was like, this is my baby.
Your passion project.
I'm gonna build this app out, and oh my god, it was just an incredible process to like build it out and put it out there, and then just launch it and then see the feedback. I mean, almost immediately people were downloading it. Like, I wasn't even doing much promotion. All I did was going to like self-care groups. I'm part of a couple of self-care for skincare, hair care. Just like, hey guys, I know you guys are trying to like achieve goals and do these challenges. I built this app out. You guys try it out. Let me know what you think. I just dropped the link in there, and I'm telling you, the next week I had 250 women on a challenge already like
no way.
join and like using it.
I'm sensing a trend here. Your very first app you ever did
I
went
know.
viral. You're like, whatever you touch turns to gold.
Yeah, honestly, it's crazy. I wouldn't say all my apps have been a hit. Like, I did do one for podcasts, funny enough. I did a podcast aggregator. I didn't like, it wasn't really my passion. I didn't really promote it. It was a really good app, by the way, but it was just not my passion. And honestly, passion is what actually drives like success in apps. Like, you have to be super, super passionate about it to like push it forward.
And have your niche because you really understand it
Yes.
so well. Because I'm guessing this is something you've dealt with and you're like, I'm trying to solve a problem in my own life.
Exactly. That was the same thing with the music app. I wanted to listen to African radio. They didn't have it on TuneIn. I was like, I'm going to build it because I'm going to use it. I don't care if anybody else downloads this app because I'm getting benefit from it. So I'm going to build it. Same thing with Glow Up. I was like, I need to like strategize how to like get my self-care in order. I'm going to build this app and I don't care if anybody uses it.
You know what that reminds me of? Okay, so you are coming from the software development side, but okay, so Jose is a serial entrepreneur and he started a bunch of different kinds of businesses. And in his like first, I would say like 8 years of business starting, it was always to solve a problem he had in his life.
Exactly.
And it was so, and I had never thought about it this way, but like, didn't you start a lawn care business because you're like, I don't want to pay to have my lawn done?
Exactly.
You're like, wait, I can just, you're like,
That's
wait.
a pain, by the way.
Yeah, and then he was like, wait, there's a business model around this. So tell me about how you like.
Yeah, so
did
for me,
that.
it was like I saw like opportunity either for me to learn a new skill or just to figure out like I don't want to pay somebody to do the service for me. I can just hire my own little team. They can do my lawn and they can do other people's lawns, and by proxy, we all make money.
That's
So
awesome.
That's always been my mentality. I had a question. So
Okay.
you're 6 months into the launch of the app.
Yes.
What is the goals? Like, what is your 1 year goal?
So right now we're actually inching towards 20,000 users.
Amazing. Congratulations.
By the end of the year, I want to be close to 100,000 users.
Heck yeah.
That is
Yeah.
my goal. I feel like I can do it. We're getting thousands and thousands of downloads a week, so I feel like that's an attainable goal.
Yeah. What tactics are you using to reach that goal?
So right now, a lot of it is just like influencers, partnering with them. I'm doing challenges, going into the self-care groups, posting, doing a little bit of Facebook and Instagram, not too much, because I don't want to spend too much before we start making money. But it's been helping. People are sharing it like with their, friends and family members, and people are just downloading. It's crazy. Every time I look on, there's a new member, like just starting to use it out and asking for help, questions.
I love
Yeah.
that.
You just said something that the app is technically not making money right now.
No, not yet.
What plans do you have, or are you willing to share some of those plans to
Sure.
monetize the app in the future?
Funny enough, I just launched the business directory yesterday.
Okay.
So business directory is for basically any business who's targeting the audience. So that's from skincare, hair care, beauty, anything related to that, fitness. And you feel like you have a service that you want to provide to this community. So there's a business directory. You can sign up, put your business on there. and we plan to charge, a fee, like a fixed fee for getting your business listed
So the
in there.
users, like to go on and do it, that's going to be free. But
Yes.
then you're going to charge the business because you're like, I'm cultivating community. So if you want
Exactly.
access to this community, I love that model because
Yep.
then it's perpetually going to be free. I mean, essentially, that's kind of what Google does. That's what a lot of these really successful companies have done. It's free for the user, but then if businesses want access to the user base,
Yeah.
they have to pay for it.
Like a lot of companies are already benefiting from the app because there's something called product recommendations where it's user generated. Like if I am using a hair care product that works really well, I can go into the app and kind of recommend that product. So it's already there, and you link to the
so
website.
nice.
So it's already generating a lot of revenue for all the product recommendations that are already on the app.
Are you doing like affiliate marketing with it as well? Or...
That's what I plan to do. I feel like they're just getting like free,
Exactly.
traffic from my app, and I'm not getting anything for it right now. But eventually, I want like a business developer. I'm gonna hire one to go out and kind of like see if I can do some affiliate marketing. If I link, to your website from my app, I get something for that, right?
Well, the easiest one to do right now that has a lot of products is Amazon. You can sign up as a business, and then any products you recommend through your site, you will get monetized. Like they'll
That's
pay you
it.
back
Also
on
And
it.
I
good
really
idea.
love that it's not Glow Up app, like it's not your personal recommendations. It is
Exactly. The
community
community
driven
is
because I feel like
recommending it.
I've seen that happen a lot on TikTok too, but it's not aggregated like that. So you have one person and then you're like, oh, maybe I see another video, and after the 5th or 6th video of the same product, it's
Right.
like, okay, I'm gonna buy it. But you basically have a community where you can see, oh, these are the products that the girlies are behind, or these are the
Exactly.
products that like really work for this kind of hair, or this kind of skin, or whatever. And it's
Exactly.
just makes that selection process so much easier because
Right.
I'm not the kind of like I can go and read about a product, but I really need like a recommendation or a review is what's going to sell me. Like anytime a girlfriend tells me this is what you need to be using, here's why, I'm 10
Exactly.
times more likely to buy it.
And it's authentic, right? Is because I'm not paying them to do these recommendations. These are things that are working for them, and they're just
Sharing
telling
that.
Exactly. So
Okay, so question. You open multiple kind of businesses, right?
yes.
And you've been in this stage in your career before where it's like the first year of business. What's your biggest advice to upcoming entrepreneurs about that first year in business?
Ooh, you have to have a lot of patience because that's the thing. A lot of people, if they're not making revenue like in the first year, they're like, oh man, this is not worth it. Because you're kind of like bootstrapping, you're burning through your own funds. So it's like you want to give up. So I would say keep your costs low, find out how you can do it, which is one thing that I've been doing. I've been optimizing a lot because back-end costs, like using Firebase and Google, they charge you a bunch of money. So what I have to do every day, I have to keep track of every single cost, the server cost, and like make sure I'm optimizing the app in every way possible to save money. So I've been doing that, making sure I'm optimizing my Facebook and Instagram ads to make sure I'm not spending too much, like just keeping costs low.
Are you running your own ads as well?
Yeah, I am. I'm running my own ads. And they're doing pretty well. 15 cents per click. That's
Hey,
not too bad.
That's not bad at all. That's
We'd
not bad
love
at
to
all.
hear that.
It's not too bad.
No. So you essentially launched after 4 weeks. You launched this product. It's a lot of companies that get into app development. So you're a pro. You've been doing this,
Yes.
building and releasing apps for a long time. But a lot of companies who are getting into it for the first time, they'll put months and months and months, maybe years even into developing an MVP.
That's a terrible idea.
Tell us
And
why.
I tell everybody this. Like, when you're building an app, you don't want to put everything in there. You don't want to throw the kitchen sink, everything, all these features. No, that's not the point. What you want to do is do a user survey. First, find out what kind of people want to use your app, what they want to see in the app. Do some mock-ups. Do what is called an MVP, minimal viable product, and figure out which features are really, really important to your users and launch those. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3 things. And launch that and get feedback. Put some analytics in the app and do painted door tests. Basically, is like you put a feature in the app that's not completely built out, but see who clicks on it.
Ooh.
And have like a coming soon. So it's like they click on it coming soon, and if you see a lot of people are coming soon and they keep clicking on it, okay, maybe this is the next feature I need to build out.
Oh my gosh, this is brilliant. We do this in advertising. We will often if we will basically run Facebook ads for a product that a customer may want to launch that hasn't actually existed yet, just to see if people click on it. And
Exactly.
and then if you have proof of concept, then you can go into development as opposed to developing something before you know that you have interest.
The worst thing you can do is launch everything at the same time because you spent all this time building it out, and then people get in there and they don't even use it.
Yeah, that's the worst feeling.
Don't ever do that. Launch 2, 3 max features that you feel like users will want, and then get feedback. And then it's an iterative process. App building is iterative. It's not, okay, I want all this stuff in there. Put Google in there, put TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, people have come to me and tell me, like, this is what I want in my app. Put this, YouTube. I'm like, no. You're never going to get anywhere. Start very, very small. What do you think users want to do? What is the main function of your business? And what do you think that users will want?
Yeah.
Think about that and then come back to me.
Essentially, that's how like you build a business. You start with a couple different services, a couple different products, and you build them out.
Exactly.
So what have you learned from the time that you launched, and what, like, I would say, have you made any big changes or adjustments based on feedback you've gotten from your community?
Oh, definitely. For sure. The challenges. I realized that people want a chat room for the challenges. So initially, I just had one huge group chat.
Mm-hmm.
So people come in the app, there's a main chat, everybody chats in there. But then people want more specific conversations. So I'm like, you know what? Let me include a chat for each challenge that people create. And then they can have more kind of like structured conversations around the goals that they're trying to achieve. So I've implemented the chat for that in there. So they're just little things that I pick up on that I feel like users would like, reply to, kind of like all these small features that I didn't have initially.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. The one funny one that I had to launch and then take back was people wanted the app in different languages.
Mm-hmm.
They still do want that. And initially I launched it, but I was using Google Translate service. And oh my God, it's the most expensive thing on the planet.
Ooh.
They charge you for every single translation you do. So I was paying so much money to translate the app. So I put it behind a fee. I said, you know what? If you want this so bad, you're going to pay for it. So I put a little fee if they want the app in Spanish, if they want it in French. And one person bought it. One person. I'm like, everyone was telling me, I want the app in Spanish, I want it in German, I want it in this, in the chat room, right? Because that's where I got all the feedback. And then I launched it, and I didn't even put like a huge cost behind it. I made it like $4.99, right? And one person paid for it. I was like, okay, y'all are gonna have to learn English on this app. I'm not paying for this. Google was charging me an arm and a leg, so I actually ripped that feature out.
But what you could do as you scale in predominantly English, but then if you have a need from a specific demographic, instead of I'm going to hit every language ever, it's like, wow, I didn't realize this is becoming really big in Spanish-speaking communities. Or there's a bunch, maybe we go in for a Spanish, but once you already know that you have, and once you've also monetized the other part of the app, I think
feel
it'll
like
be easier.
There needs to be better tools and less expensive tools for translating.
Mm-hmm. We do that a lot. So in Houston, there are so many bilingual and also predominantly Spanish-speaking people that are here. And it is wild to us how many businesses will claim they can serve the Spanish-speaking community and their own website can't translate to Spanish.
Exactly.
And then if you do have, like, it's just that really, not professional Google Translate widget, and then it's like, we've read things, and it's like, that is not right at all.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I it's still a problem that I need to solve.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, initially I'm going to solve it with, there's like, other ways that you can solve it, but it doesn't give them the full translation. Like Google Translate translated everything. So not just like, static buttons in the app, which is easy to do, but it translated user-generated content. So other people posting in the app, other people posting goals, it translated all the product reviews, everything into their language.
And they charge you per...
They charge me per translation.
That's crazy.
I looked at my bill that month. I was like, oh, heck no. No way. I pulled it right out the app.
Well, and that's good, though, because you didn't wait. You were like, nope, we got to get this done.
Yep.
I think that's also, talking about your first year of business and, it's so good to talk about the things that you did right, that you're happy you did, but also like what you would not do again. I'm guessing that's one of those things. Is there anything else from launching previous apps that you're like, I know not to do?
You have to, everything with the app is honestly tied to the back end, because that's where like you pay a lot of money. Like just launching an app itself is not that expensive, but when you start getting volume, those back end costs like AWS, Google, Firestore, those charges are crazy. So what you have to do is just be really good at architecting your app to save as much money as you can. Mm-hmm. So because Google charges per read. Every time somebody reads from your database, they're charging you.
Wow. Yeah, that can add up. 20,000 is nothing. If you want to get to 100,000,
I get 4 million reads a day.
Wow.
Over that. Now we're averaging 6 million reads a day.
Yeah, that's
So
so
it's like
intense.
they charge you for all that. So you have to make sure. So I went into the app. I was like, "Ooh, do we need to read here? Let me cache this." And then maybe we read one time from here and one time and store it on the app. So I have to figure out like how to cut costs when it comes to that. Google is making a lot of money with backend, and so is AWS. They both are.
No, that's honestly really good advice. And just like a lot of what you're saying translates over to like other types of businesses
Yeah.
because no matter what, for example, we run a service based business and our biggest costs, we have
Labor.
to our labor.
Yeah.
And, it's a lot of people that start out in service based businesses, especially with tech. They're often using contractors, and we've talked about that. Like contractor costs can balloon like
Yep, they
crazy
can.
Really
with your
fast.
business really fast. Or there are if you're using certain services or tools, like Shopify is something that we love to use with small businesses, but depending on your volume of sales, there's a point where we're like, we need to build you a custom solution.
Yeah.
Because people are like, oh, I've heard Shopify, it's so easy. It's like, yeah, but do you know how much those
They
fees
charge, yeah, the fees.
that, and it doesn't matter that much when you're small, but if you're going to grow, and especially if you're going to go fast, that becomes tens of thousands of dollars a month. And it's the same with the back end costs that you're
Yes,
talking about.
it's huge. It's
So
huge.
just planning to scale, because you're like, I know where I'm at right now, but I know what those costs are going to be like, and so you're optimizing. I love that, and adjusting everything.
Yeah, I have to look at the cost every day and like optimize where I need to.
think
Like
it's just-
what APIs I'm calling.
Yeah, you're just being a really, really good, smart CEO or business leader. You're killing it.
Thank you.
And okay, so for you've got your goal of like 100,000 users
Yes.
and all of that. Any other big dreams or things that you know where you see this app going?
Well, I'm hoping to get some funding. Hoping to start generating some revenue with the business directory that we launched. So I'll be hoping to get feedback from that in a couple of weeks and see how many people. I'm doing like little ads and like trying to like see if people will buy into it. Yeah, generating revenue for sure. 100,000 users, maybe some funding. Those are my 3 big goals for the end of the year.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
here and talking about your app and the first year of business. And if you like this kind of content, guys, you need to be subscribing. You need to be following along, because how often is it that you get to sit down with a tenured software engineer who knows the ins and outs of launching an app and making it happen?
And knows how to run a good, successful business, like she
Thank
just
you.
proven.
That is, we got a rare one here. So, yeah, well, thank you guys. Catch you next time.
Before you guys leave, where can they find you?
You can actually go to my website, glowupapp.com, or I'm also the app queen on Instagram.
Woohoo! We'll link her stuff in the bio below.